Hello and welcome. This is the second episode of the podcast, which is called Mind Over Chatter, which is a bad pun, right? What's the matter? Because we're trying to explore what's wrong with people. And in the first episode, I did sing the theme tune. I'll do a very, very mini version here. What's the matter? Right, there you go. So that's the mini version of the theme tune. So,
I love it.
So we're in a different location. This is like the little podcast, Ickle past? I can't speak. Ickle podcast, right? Get my words out. Whereas we have another location which is a more bigger one. So this is like what was it called? Hollyoaks?
After Dark.
After Dark.
Yeah.
So this is kind of like Big Brother's Little Brother, Hollyoaks After Dark version of the bigger podcast. So I just want to give a shout out to Creativity Works Preston because they're the ones that are hosting today, which is a really fantastic centre which provides kind of alternative education. So they find like creative ways of teaching like people like not necessarily the mainstream. So there's a lot of emphasis on things like podcasting, music, hair and beauty, just other creative ways of working. And so it's a good shout out for them being here. So thank you to them. We've also got Mark as a technician. Shout out to Mark.
Hello.
Woo! Come on, right. And Summer in the house.
Hi.
There you go, right. And I'm Nigel, obviously. I'd just like to start off by just kind of introducing you two guys. So what's your names?
You go first.
I'll go first.
Yeah.
I'm Hope, and I'm a Year 2 Counselling and Psychotherapy student.
Okay, well, hello, Hope.
Hello.
Yeah? That's like an AA meeting, you say.
No,
Yeah.
I'm Keiron. I'm also a second year counselling and psychotherapy student.
Okay.
Same year, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So,
Okay then, and that's kind of pertinent because the first episode also had second year cycling and cycling. Did I say cycling?
Yeah, cycling. We don't do any
It's because of
cycling.
Mark and he's always
Yeah.
going cycling.
Lycra.
In fact, he's got a lycra on right now, but you lot can't see that. So counselling and psychotherapy, and a lot of this podcast is about us discussing mental health. I was discussing counselling, psychotherapy to try, and I had these 3 Ds in the first episode, which was like destigmatising, de-jargonifising, not a real word, but you know what I mean, and what's the word we saw, but too complex, you know, like what Carl
deconstructing.
Well, what
Like
Carl
big
Rogers'
words.
ideas and his books are interesting, but they're very, very difficult to understand.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Academicizing, de-academicizing, not real words, any of these, right? And I came up with the idea of simplifying the complex, and it was known as simplex. So that's what we're trying to do, right? And then we went into some rubbish joke about that sounding like a plastic, etc. So we'll try and get rid of that. So, and I also want to use the term because, like, a lot of podcasts you can either listen to or you can view.
Mm-hmm.
And I kept saying viewers and listeners. I thought it's a bit convoluted that, so we use the term listeners. So we've got
Listeners. I love
listeners
that.
out there, right?
It's got, yeah, I love how you're trying to de-jargonise stuff and then you're creating your own jargon.
Well,
on top.
exactly. You know, I'm a very complex, simplexing individual. So that's kind of where we're at, right? So the first episode, we started off with this idea of the beginner's mindset and how you're at this place now in your second year where you're touching on the idea of seeing real clients. Mm-hmm. And no longer are you just like studying psychotherapy and counselling on a theoretical basis. Well, you do what's known as skills practice, which is like a counselling session, more like a listening session with your peers. But in 2 months' time, perhaps you're going to be out there with real clients, real vulnerable people, yeah, and that kind of face, that kind of sums up what that might feel like. So one of the things we want to talk about is where are you with this, knowing that maybe 2 to 3 months' time you're going to be seeing real people, real clients.
Me personally, I'm ready.
You're ready.
I think I'm ready. Yeah. I think I don't know. I think I'm quite confident at my abilities, like in the chair, and I think I'm really aware of how imperfect the process is, and that, like, you know, you can make mistakes, but even if you make a mistake, that might lead a client to realise what's not right for them, which I think is just as important as them realising what is right for them.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think the only way out is through. Like, the best way is to just get in the chair and to do it. There's no substitute for that. There's no amount of skills or books you can read that'll prepare you than just getting across from an actual person who is wanting help from you.
Yeah. And a lot of what you're saying is like very important because training to be a therapist is one of those roles you can only do by being a therapist. Because you can read as many books in the world, but you don't know what it's like when you're with that client and you're feeling what you're feeling, and your ability to be able to form a deep connection with somebody without listening to your own shit that's going on in your head and like bracketing your own triggers. And you can only do that by doing it. So we kind of like asking people on the last one, like people who are experienced, what it was like to have that first client, and everybody said yes, it was very, very nerve-wracking because it's like the unknown. You're stepping into the unknown. So we talked about this beginner's mindset being a mindset which is useful to have at all times, and this came from me basically listening to a Joe Rogan podcast that had Ethan Hawke on it, who's an actor, and he was saying that he has that mindset at all times when he has a new role. I've never acted before. So I need to approach this. And we need to kind of like think about maybe approaching every single client with this idea that I don't know what I'm doing, right? And I'm a beginner because I'm trying to understand this person and put all my stuff to the side. So, and it was kind of an analogy that we were using in the first episode anyway. So now, sometimes, I mean, I'm not saying this for you because I know you're a very confident person. When a student says, I'm really ready, that brings concerns because we want people to be like a little bit nervous at least. So,
I am nervous, absolutely, but that doesn't mean I'm not ready. I think the nerves is a good thing to have because it means that there's something on the line, and I think if there wasn't anything on the line, what we do wouldn't be important.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So, and there's that thing you said as well about you can't really do anything wrong, and we explored that. Because obviously you can do things wrong.
Yeah, absolutely,
But as long as we were kind of talking about this idea that you use ethics as a guiding principle for all the things that you do, then you should be okay. And also being humble enough to recognise I might have made a mistake here, but and just kind of like not letting go of the ego. So, which can be difficult things to do, which is why training to be a therapist, we do have a massive emphasis on the personal development aspect of it. So, Hope, where are you in all of this?
I think nerves definitely comes before confidence for me.
Nerves before confidence.
Yeah. Not that I'm not confident in my abilities. I do. Obviously, it's still all like quite learning curves, and we're still like finding our styles and ways and stuff. But yeah, I'd say definitely nerves before anything else.
Yeah, and nerves before confidence would be a great name for an album, I think. Definitely. So, and it's a great mantra maybe we should teach with. Have nerves before confidence.
Yeah.
But at all times, even because we talked about in the last one about the fact that there's so many documented experiences of therapists that have been doing this for 5-10 years and they still feel this, I'm not really sure I know what I'm doing, and that's a good thing. So I'm happy with the nerves before confidence, right? I'm also happy with the confidence, but there's still that underlying, nervousness about it.
Yeah, I think it's just like accepting the nerves. I think that's kind of where I'm trying to get at.
I feel like it's kind of like driving, isn't it? Where you do all your lessons and stuff like that, but a lot of instructors say that you don't really know how to drive until you've passed your test and you're in the driver's seat. Because I've spoken to, therapists that I've had before, and they've always said, it's a completely different world out there, after you've got your degree and stuff like that. So I think it's more so, getting in the driver's seat and then sort of seeing what the driving style is going to be like.
Yeah, definitely. And that's a good analogy, and we talk about it a lot, because even though when you first start trying to do skills, it's very analogous to driving, where you're focusing on, about what feels like about 20,000 different things.
Yeah.
But even just trying to change the gear, but having to put the clutch in and look in the mirror, and you're trying to steer right, and when traffic's coming, it can just feel overwhelming. But once you've been driving for a while, you just do all that automatically.
Yeah.
Same with when you're doing your skills practice. It's like, all right, I'm meant to be listening, right? Oh, I've got to offer a skill here. Oh, is that the right skill? Oh, am I asking too many questions? Oh, no, I said something wrong. Oh, don't say that, you might offend them, right? All of these are the things that kind of get in the way of the process. But once you've been doing it for as long as I have, it's just all automatic. I'm just feeling it. So you need to kind of like understand it'll take a while to get to that automatic processing. So
no, it's definitely going to be very clunky at the start. It's still clunky now, I think, when you're going through stuff. But obviously that's like we're trainees in it, so that's kind of where it's at.
I need to kind of recognise that you're still really early in your journey.
So I found something that's like really helped, like in the last like sort of couple of months, is just being like congruent in that time and saying like that might have not been the correct way of saying something, because obviously you're doing it with your peers in skills, so it's obviously easier to do that, but just saying like I'm not quite sure where to go with this is better than just being like like freaking out.
I had that I've had that recently in a session where I had nothing to say, and I've had feedback in the past where basically someone said, if that's what comes up for you, like tell the person, and I did, and it just rolled the session on like so nicely. And it is, I think, as you were saying earlier, it's about being, not doing. You don't do therapy, you don't do empathy. You can be empathetic, and just being genuine. That like, maybe I am stuck, and I think that'll get appreciated a lot more from a client than if you try and, because like you can detect when someone's like not being genuine or when someone's slightly off. So just kind of like letting it roll, I think, is like,
definitely. And then I mean, we're talking about one of the conditions that we offer clients, which is congruence. And the longer that I've been doing this kind of role, the more congruent I'm being with clients. And that is, would you like to explain what congruence is? For these, for the listeners out there who might not know. So.
It just means being genuine, doesn't it really? It's jargon for being genuine.
So we're de-jargonifying things. We're simplexing. It just means it being real. Because I've had like hundreds and hundreds of clients, and I often ask them at the beginning, have you ever had therapy before? And some of them will say, yes, I didn't really like it. It felt like the therapist was just there. They weren't really interested. They were just there ticking a box. And so clients really know when you're not genuinely interested in them. I kind of realise I keep doing this like I'm some like
little T-Rex,
like a little T-Rex maybe, or I don't know, like. But anyway, I'll stop doing that. I was aware as well that being genuine about the growly drilling noise that happened. So apologies for the growly drilling noise that appeared. You can't get the stuff to these guys.
No, you can't.
But anyway, so this back to being genuine and being real. Being very, very important. And it might be okay when you have your first clients to actually just say, I don't, I'm a bit stuck here. But how do you feel about sharing that with a potential stranger who's vulnerable, who's come to see you? The fact that you are also vulnerable.
I think it's definitely be hesitant to do it because obviously you want to feel like you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
But then if you can sort of relate it back to, whatever like they're describing is making me feel stuck, and then you can sort of like reflect it back to them and just say, it's making me feel stuck, so I can't imagine, like how, like it's doing for you, like what feelings are brought up for you. So then it, just like sort of you're being congruent, but then opening up. Like a direction to...
putting it back onto them, which is always important, because it's all about them. And I think you describe in a way a parallel process, where sometimes if the client's stuck or trapped, we can feel the same, because they don't know what to do, and we're like, well, I don't know what to do either. So sometimes the sharing of that might be beneficial. So what do you think to that as an idea?
Being stuck.
Well, just sharing that, or any thoughts on being stuck?
I think it's a really hard thing because you don't want to like have the client, because I think a lot of the time you're worried about being perceived in a certain way. So if you were to give that, I think you would worry about being perceived as incompetent. But I actually think in the therapeutic like space, it comes across more as like congruence and as genuineness. But it's a real hard thing to put, like as you talked before about ego, to put your ego aside to actually be able to do that. So, and I think that's one of the reasons why like personal development on the course is so important, and why it's so massively leaned into, because you need to be able to take away those barriers, because barriers, well, they're not just for you, but they're also going to be barriers for the client as well. So.
I was kind of I'm glad you said personal development, because one part of this episode, which will be chopped up into 3, I was going to ask about how you feel that's coming, your personal development. Not necessarily in like the personal development like module. I don't know why am I doing that. I have no idea, because it is actually a module called personal development. But just across the board since you've started doing this course.
You go first.
You're a gentleman.
I'm such a gentleman.
Well,
allegedly.
Yeah, I'm allowed to say gentleman, is that what?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
I think so.
Yeah, go on.
Well, I don't really know. Are we discussing this going into it right now? Or...
do you want to?
Yeah, we can do.
Go on then.
Of how I've personally developed.
Yeah.
A lot.
There you go.
Yeah,
that's the end of it.
Yeah, that's it.
Thank you.
Roll the credits.
So insightful. No, sorry.
No. It's a hard one to like think about, and like sort of like briefly, like clump together.
Encapsulate into something very, very articulate.
Trying to think of a different word than clump.
Clump works.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't want to put pressure on you. If you can't think of anything, don't.
I mean, I can.
Something out.
Yeah, I feel like it's been a like massive journey, hasn't it, so far? And what I was gonna say before was that I know we was talking about being congruent and stuff. And for the first year, I probably wouldn't have like said, "Oh, I'm stuck." I'd just probably be like, "Oh, well, we'll only do 10 minutes today,"
right.
like, and sort of like avoid it. But now, through having a different skills group, super skills.
Can you
like,
just explain what that is?
Yeah, sorry.
Just for the
it's like a clap, like sort of click.
Yeah, when a clap isn't appropriate because it's too abrupt.
too loud. You just do a little click instead.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. But yeah. Sorry, I've completely gone off what I was supposed to say.
So that's what happens when I get involved, you see.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, personally, it's been a wild journey.
It's been a wild journey. Yeah. I'm envisioning now, even though you do realise I can't visualise. I've mentioned many times. There's a condition called aphontasia, which people can't visualise. I have it. Join the gang, Only 2 to 3% of us are out there. But anyway, that's irrelevant. So what I was going to say is when you were saying wild, that kind of like connotations for me is like something like the Wild West. I don't know.
No, not quite. I feel like just calm but chaotic at the same time. Like you realise a lot of things about yourself that you didn't really know.
Right.
And like... obviously in the first year, like everything's kind of like new, and like you're learning loads of obviously new material, new different things. But then the second year, I think, is where a lot more like growth has happened. I feel like my frontal lobe has really developed. As soon as I hit 25, it's developed. And like you just think differently about things, and I feel like I'm a little bit more insightful as well.
Okay. Well, would you like to share? I mean, I don't want you to share anything too personal. Just a thing that you think differently about now that you've recognised from being on this course.
I feel like I definitely have. I have like quite a conflicting brain, so like very like negative and positive, but negative usually overshadows more, so I'm very, very self-critical. But I feel like through having like the skills sessions, being with the same people, and then like building that rapport each week, we've kind of gone through like sort of stuff like that. So I feel like now I can sort of appreciate the positive side a little bit more and let that come through. Right. So without having, like the skill sessions, and I've just tapped, but the skill sessions, it's like changed, even though it's not like, I'm going to do air quotes, proper counselling, because like we're trainee counsellors, it's still... like just been as beneficial. Well,
I mean, just for the listeners, like the skill sessions are basically where the students practice counselling skills for half an hour or so with each other. But you found like you've got real benefit out of that. But from what you're describing, it just feels like it's turned up the volume of that more positive voice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
Excellent. So that feels quite powerful, really.
Yeah. And I actually do have Keiron to thank for that because we were in the same skills group.
Yeah, woo, shout out.
Super skills.
Yeah, super skills.
No, yeah, so we call our group Super Skills. There's 3 of us.
Yeah. Special mention to Zoe.
Yeah, shout out to Zoe.
Yeah, you're Zozo.
No, yeah, but like Super Skills was meant when they made us change groups. I was raging. Forced us against our will to change groups.
That's what we do was so horrible.
I didn't speak to Naomi for a week.
Yeah.
But it's okay. The grass is the same greenness on the other side, isn't it? So.
Yeah, like it's definitely nice for a change. But I feel like my skills growth happened in that group.
Yeah.
Love that. That's great.
And I can sense the love.
There is.
It's been created by these.
Super skills, man.
Yeah.
Super skills.
Honestly, it's amazing.
You was just like really, I don't know, because I've always been quite doubtful, haven't I? And like not as confident as like you or like Zoe. So they were just like really reassuring with me and like compared to like other groups that I've had, you know, they've just been like really patient.
Yeah.
And so that's made me more confident.
Can I give a?
Yeah.
I think from being in the group, seeing that a lot of that was internal for you, and I think it was like, I don't know if you've realised, but like that was more of an internal thing than an external thing. And now, do you know they say that thing in counselling, you just holding up a mirror?
Yeah.
Like we're just held up the mirror, and I think like what I like to think happened is we showed you what was actually going on.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But it felt like as well, it's like a need of yours was just to have that reassurance.
Yeah.
Because. Yeah, go on.
No, just I feel like it's something that I've always needed in like anything that I do.
Yeah, but also like some modelling as well, because like, you know, as you was talking, you were talking about like a lack of confidence. Like I was part of my brain referred to Keiron as like a big ball of confidence, and I can see maybe that kind of rubbed off on you a little bit.
Yeah.
And like a role model of like this is how a different way could be.
Yeah.
I would say like as a role model, I would, from my perspective, would more say it was like it was like transactional, wasn't it? Like I got stuff from you as well as you from me. Do you know what I mean?
That's true.
And like instead of it was her looking up to me or me looking up to someone. It was like we were all looking on an equal playing field at each other, and we all went into everything with that mindset. And I think that is so applicable to the room as well, isn't it? Like we're not the experts, the client's the expert. There's very much a role that both people play. And we've done that a lot, and I think that was massive. It was so good.
Okay then, thank you for that. I'm aware of the time. We've got about 2 minutes left of this of part 1. So how would you like to sum up part 1 then?
How would there's a lot of jargon.
Yeah.
A lot of jargon.
Yeah. And that's important to recognise that we do talk with jargon and to not use that with clients, which is why I'm always kind of like trying to tell the listeners what these little things that we're talking about mean, because hopefully, because the destigmatising and the de-jargonising of this is to try and just make mental health more accessible just to talk about.
Yeah.
I think if you ask like a person who's not involved in the industry what it is we do, the answers that you get are really fascinating. It's so fascinating.
Okay, and that's okay. Well, we kind of ended at that point, and we come back to that because also I'm aware of like, you know, Hope talked about what she's developed and what she's learned, and we never got onto you as well. So, so we'll come back and we'll kind of discuss that. And also, you use the word level playing field, which I think is important. In many aspects of life. So I'd like to touch upon that as well about Creativity Works Preston as well, and how they can kind of like level the playing field, because I think a lot of mental health is due to social constructs
barriers,
and these barriers, which an organisation like this can help to kind of flatten, which I like. So is it all right if we kind of like bring this one to an end? And the last one, I would play some kind of jazz trumpet. Like
you need an actual trumpet.
And I'll say, end of part 1. There you go. So that's the end of part 1.